Hey everybody, I want you to imagine owning a professional football team. That sounds pretty cool, but you want to know what's even cooler? Having an established identity for that team. Coming up with an awesome name for your team is very, very satisfying, but last week we saw a team in the NFL defy my laws of franchise building by making a boneheaded decision about their temporary identity. Welcome back to Top of the Standings. I'm Jotham Israel, and I'm back at it again with Andrew Hale for episode number 2. But before I roast the burgundy and gold out of Washington's front office, I wanted to tell you guys about our amazing sponsor, Anchor. If you started a podcast but didn't know how to distribute it, then Anchor is the app for you. Anchor is a completely free and easy to use hosting platform for podcasting. A computer or even a mobile device with a functional internal or external microphone is all you need to start recording your podcast with Anchor. When you do finish recording your podcast audio, you can simply edit it and upload it to the biggest podcasting platforms like iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, and more. If you were like me and you didn't have the foggiest clue on how to start a podcast, Anchor is the perfect place to start. For more information, go to anchor.fm on the web or download the Anchor app on your mobile device. Oh, brother. Okay, Drew. The Washington football team. Um, I've
That's
never heard any. I'm sorry, bro. I've never heard anything like it in professional sports.
yeah, that is that really a a name for an NFL team? The Washington football team.
I'm just I'm so shook by this. I mean I have so many thoughts and processes about this nickname. Like their nickname is literally scratch the city. Their nickname is literally just football team. I mean, I mean this is so comical.
This is I how long did it take for them to figure out that name? It seemed like they were going over the different options for team names, and apparently they had this big meeting just to come up with the Washington football team. What is that? That's so weird.
I know, right? I bet you it doesn't take 87 years to do that. Doesn't even really take a week for me. It doesn't even take me a day to come up with the name. Trademarks, taken into account as well.
Yeah, of
Dude,
course.
I mean, I know you can't just steal some name from the other Washington professional sports teams or one of the many nicknames that very subtly flexy dude that trademarked all those names. You probably can't steal one of his names either without paying up the bucks, which is probably something they don't want to do right now.
Yeah.
But I mean, the best you could come up with, I don't care if it's temporary or not, the Washington football team. It is so laughable.
I I have no words actually. Like that's so like I I have no words. I have no words for it to describe what kind of name is that? Like why? Anything else but the
Yes,
Washington football
anything,
team. That's
anything,
weird.
anything, but just something so. I can't even put this in the category of generic. That's how mind-boggling this is. This is just. I mean, they say they plan to change their name. Cool. You guys stall a little bit to change it and make an announcement. Okay, but this is what you come up with. This. Oh my gosh.
Dude. Like you said, it's not generic. Like this is worse than generic. This is boring. This is flat out
I mean,
boring.
what are you gonna put? What are they gonna put on their jerseys? Just Washington, because they used to have Redskins, across the jersey. What are they gonna put now? Just Washington.
Yeah, I and like for the helmets, they said they're just gonna put a number. So who knows if anything will be on the front? Yeah, that's who knows.
Bootleg
Who
Bama on
knows?
the rise.
That's funny. That's a very good
I
comparison.
mean, that's just bad, man. That's just overall bad. Hopefully, they come to their senses soon because this is definitely not gonna cut it long term.
Yeah, it can. It definitely it's not a it just doesn't pop. When you think of different team names from around the league, you got Giants, you got Lions, you got Bears, you got all these different animals, and then you look over to Washington D.C. and you see the football team. What? Like, especially for new fans. Like, they're like, "Ooh, these are some cool names. Dolphins, Panthers, Ravens. Oh, the football team. What is that? That's boring." Like,
Yeah, that's something that people say at their high schools. Like they say the football team.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, that
Yeah,
I can't
dude.
believe it.
In which that franchise kind of, as at least as of late, they've been playing and functioning like they are a high school team among pros. Because, yeah, the Redskins haven't been that good.
Yeah, they definitely. It has been a while. Ever since they got rid of Kirk Cousins, it has just gone downhill for sure.
Definitely. At least Alex Smith got cleared. That's a good thing for that franchise.
That is a very good thing, and I'm happy for him because that was a devastating leg injury, and I didn't honestly think he was going to be able to come back. I'm not sure if he will still. I don't think it's in his best interest to come back after that type of leg
Hmm.
injury, but I am happy for his recovery.
Yeah, so glad. I really think he should sit out this season, especially considering how challenging it is to even get a season off at this point with these circumstances.
Yeah,
I think he should just take this 2020 season off and plan for 2021.
yeah, for sure.
But dude, the defunct Redskins are not the only professional sports team to take heat due to their name. We've also seen the Cleveland Indians kind of taking action on their own nickname. They say they say they've been discussing with like this Native American like group in Cleveland and on what to do
Yeah,
with their identity, and they made a statement this weekend by not wearing Indians on their jerseys. They decided to wear their road jerseys with Cleveland in cursive instead of the the usual Indians that's on the
yeah.
on their home jerseys.
Yeah, I feel like that's probably smartest to do since they are contemplating their name at the moment. They don't know what the future holds for them, so I Cleveland's probably the best bet to wear for
I
now,
mean, it's a good
honestly.
decision. I mean, at least I would expect them to wear white pants at home and gray pants on the road, just for the sake of normalcy. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, good. I mean, good move by the Indians.
Mhm.
I can't wait to see what happens with them. But obviously they're not the only baseball team that's been talking about it. The Braves have been getting some talk too, but they have actually decided to keep their name set in stone. They're going to keep the Braves name. Obviously they're going to review the tomahawk chop, which is something that you will hear reoccurringly with these topics.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and that seems to have been like a just a topic that has gone around for the past however many
mhm.
years. This isn't new for the tomahawk chop. Um, this has always been in discussion to stop the fans from doing it, and along with even the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, that's going to be really interesting too. But the Braves, I mean, I wonder how their fans are going to take that when when fans are allowed to be back in the stands again and really start buying merchandise again.
Yeah,
I really do wonder how the fans are going to take that. But I, I mean, you look at the name Braves, it's not nearly as egregious as Redskins. So
yeah.
I mean, I expect Atlanta to have some mercy. I really do not expect them to be calling themselves the Atlanta baseball team anytime soon. But
I
yeah,
hope not.
I'm praying that that no other team does what Washington just did. I really don't want to hear that again. The Seattle hockey team. That would have been so bad.
Yeah, that we know that's definitely something that we do not want to see into the
Mm-mm.
future.
I don't want to ever see it again in professional sports. But you brought up the Chiefs, man. I've been wondering because people don't really talk about the Chiefs with this type of stuff. We hear stuff
Yeah.
about the Redskins a lot. We hear a lot about the Indians and the Chief Wahoo and stuff. And maybe just maybe they might even stoop down lower to the college level with Florida State. I'll get to them later. But
Mm,
the
mm.
Chiefs, for some reason, I question why you know they didn't take as much heat. It's not like their history was all so clean as well. With how they got their name, the Chiefs.
Yeah.
You know, and literally, their logo is an arrowhead with KC on it. and their stadium is literally called Arrowhead Stadium.
Yeah, you brought up definitely a good point for sure. Like we never hear anything about the Chiefs.
Mm-mm.
Like that's kind of I don't know why. Like that's very interesting. Obviously, it's not as bad as the Redskins, but the Chiefs, yeah. I mean, if the Braves are taking heat, the Chiefs probably should be too. It's just interesting. I'm very interested in seeing what they are going to do for the
Yeah,
future.
especially with their traditions. Pregame they do they beat the drum. They have somebody out there beating the KC drum, and then the fans do the
Yeah.
tomahawk chop to the beat of the drum. And then some fan I do recall seeing a fan kind of dress up like a chief, chief-ish type
Mm,
guy. Um, but the Chiefs, they have their traditions and they have their trademarks, and it was just surprising to me that although it's not that egregious, I'm surprised nobody really brought it up because you know it's clearly a hot topic around the world of sports.
yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
so that's the Kansas City Chiefs. But I did question this one thing, you know, because the Florida State Seminoles do the most Native American stuff out of any team that we have ever seen,
Oh yeah,
for
definitely.
sure. I mean, it's a for one, it's a college. It's a college, so of course there's going to be a lot of energy. There's 9 times out of 10, there's more energy at college games than there are at pro games. That's just how it is. But
Hmm.
with Florida State, they literally have a guy riding a horse, kind of dressed as a Native Americanish type guy, throwing a
Yeah.
flaming spear down at midfield, and then the fans do the tomahawk chop. Eventually. So the, the Florida State Seminoles, a lot of people question why Florida State isn't getting any words. Well, the official
Hmm.
Seminole, I actually looked this up because I was really curious as to why this wasn't brought up, and I talked to my dad about this too because the official Seminole tribe of Florida, they've been supporting Florida State's nickname for years now. Even when the NCAA
Yeah.
tried to kind of deter the Seminoles nickname from Florida State.
Mm.
So the Seminoles, they actually got the support from Seminole tribe groups in Florida, and I think it was Oklahoma. I think they have a Seminole tribe in Oklahoma too.
Hmm.
But yeah, the,
Interesting.
the Florida State actually has verified support for their Native American imagery.
I think I honestly this is just me, but I do think the reason why they're getting supported is because they're actually almost like bringing awareness. Like they're showing the Native American culture rather than just the Redskins having a logo and a team name and without doing anything else. So I think this is probably the reason why the Seminoles are staying the Seminoles.
Yeah, and you know, another interesting thing, you got to also take this into account. Do the pro teams, have any idea about, Native American, traditions? Because apparently, if Florida State is still getting the support from the Seminole tribes, they have to be,
Mm.
correctly representing, those Seminole Native American tribes. As for the pros, maybe they don't exactly know anything about Native American traditions, and maybe they're just doing false, stereotypical representations of what a Native American is in their minds. Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah, that is a good point for sure.
Yeah, so it's very interesting. But what's also very interesting, and this goes for any level, high school, college, pro, could the tomahawk chop cease to exist? And if so, I gotta wonder where it would cease to exist. Will we stop seeing the Kansas City Chiefs do the tomahawk chop? But this, obviously the Seminoles still do it.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I don't know. I just feel like if the pro teams do stop, then it probably should stop on the college level as well. Like it would just be weird seeing it in sports, but only in one level. Like that would just be weird to me.
Yeah, and it'll go along the lines of a lot of college things to kind of be taken down. Gator bait's been taken down for Florida, amongst other traditions with other colleges. I think Texas
Mhm.
is renaming their stadium, and a lot of teams
Hmm.
are evaluating their culture and evaluating their the names of the buildings and stuff. And UNLV had a
Yeah.
word about the Hey Rev mascot,
Mm.
and I mean colleges around the country are really taking note of this situation. And I think Iowa is becoming a hot topic right now with all the allegations against the coaches.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
man, some of the stuff that I heard, like a receiver having to like wear a yellow garbage can on his head or something while
Yeah. That.
at practice or something like that. I some of that stuff is just dumbfounding, and it's clear,
Yeah. It's
yeah,
weird.
it's clear, acts. It was just wrong, and
Yeah.
the black
Definitely.
players are just like all like, they're trying to make us like white Iowa kids, like they want us to meet their standard.
Yeah. That's definitely wrong. That's so
Yeah,
stupid.
that's bad, man. And Iowa's been a decently consistent football program throughout the decades.
Yeah, they've been, like you said, very consistent. Always near the top of the standings for Big Ten, and they haven't. It's like they top of the standings. But yeah, they've been pretty consistent. They really haven't had a bad season in
Yeah,
a long time.
they're definitely never they haven't really been championship contenders, but they've always gone to a bowl game. They've always had found a way to have a winning season. They've had a couple of upsets, here and there,
Yeah.
year to year, and they're just Iowa's just that team that just hangs around. They hang around a lot.
Yeah,
So
for
yeah,
sure.
college sports, and this is just football. It'll be interesting to see if maybe college basketball athletes or college baseball athletes speak out.
Definitely, it would be. I wouldn't say it would be surprising, but it definitely should be interesting to see how the other sports of Iowa react to this developing
Yeah, most
circumstance.
definitely. But dude, um, we got our pastime back for good.
Yeah, for now, actually, Miami.
Well, uh,
Ugh.
it's been up and down.
To say the least, yes.
Yeah, it's been up and down. As a matter of fact, it's been so up and down to the point the very first game got canceled due to poor
Yeah,
weather. You know what I'm saying? And now we have our first, real problem. We have our first real COVID problem in the regular season, and it's caused not one but two games to get postponed because the team that is the victim of the outbreak, if they have to get their game canceled, of course, the previous team that they played, which thankfully it was only identified as the Phillies because that was their first series of the season. Of course, the Phillies can't get out there and play the Yankees because what if the Phillies have it and they don't know it, and then they pass it on to the Yankees, and then the Yankees pass it on to the Red Sox, and so on, so on.
yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say this is too surprising because this is always going to be in the talks, obviously, due to starting a season in the middle of a pandemic. But as long
Mm-hmm.
as the MLB figures out a way to control it, I think the season should be fine. But they just need to get through this little hump for now.
Yeah, hopefully they do not regret passing on the bubble life
Yeah,
because if they have to cancel the season, they're gonna look real stupid compared to the NBA and the NHL,
yeah, definitely.
like really stupid.
Very, very, very.
But aside from the bad COVID news, there's been a lot of things. There's been a lot of things going on. We saw a couple of games where the extra inning base runner rule is in effect.
Yeah, for the first time I think since the All-Star game last year when they experimented it.
Yeah, and they actually got it on opening night.
Yeah,
Well, not opening night because for some reason, it's weird. It's just weird how they like what days they consider opening day.
yeah,
Maybe it's just a opening day for the certain teams. Yeah, that's
mhm,
got to be it.
yeah,
But opening day, opening night for the Athletics and the Angels, that's where we really saw, the implementation. Now, the Athletics said, okay, we don't care about this. We're gonna end you guys with a grand slam. So, yeah, that happened, which that was very satisfying. And we got to see, how the players are gonna treat each other on walk offs. And well, safe to say that at least for the Athletics, they, it's still all hype as usual,
yeah.
which is good, which is really, really good. Imagine a quarantine circle around home plate,
Yeah,
and you just hit a walk-off grand slam.
yeah.
I
That
mean,
with celebrating at home plate, it definitely brings some of the excitement back with no fans, for sure.
Yeah, you can clearly hear the players yelling.
Yeah.
You can clearly hear what they say now,
Yeah.
and that's gonna be awesome. You can hear them scream like children. Yeah, 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 boy, yeah, man, that's what's up. Yeah, let's go. All that.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely think.
But I also love how the leagues. It seems very, very evenly matched because put the brooms down. Nobody got swept.
Yeah, that's honestly that's very surprising. I thought a sweep was going to be coming for the Dodgers, but then they lose the last two games to the Giants.
Yeah. Could the Giants possibly be on to something?
I wouldn't be surprised
Mm,
this year. 60 games, anything can happen.
yeah, I mean, it's gonna get very interesting, man. Because I mean, the season's shorter, and the Dodgers missing that opportunity. I mean, they're right there with the Giants at 500.
Yep.
Mm, I don't know, man. I mean, there's been a lot of weird things going on so far this season. I mean, you got the Giants splitting the series, a 4-game series with the Dodgers. The San Diego Padres were the last team in the league to lose a game.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah,
You know?
and even the Orioles, they beat the Red Sox.
Yeah.
But that's the first time we've seen that in a long time.
Oh yeah, long time. I'm not used to seeing that at Fenway too.
Yeah, that's very impressive. Very impressive.
Oh, and if you finally, what did I tell you earlier this weekend? I called that the Tigers were going to win the next two games and take their momentum back to Comerica Park with their date with the Royals.
Yes. That was an absolute steal of a series for the Tigers. No way the Reds should have let the Tigers beat them twice. Embarrassing. And especially in the ninth inning, the Tigers hit in back-to-back games ninth inning home runs. That isn't
So good.
that is like you said, very clutch, but also very embarrassing for the Reds. They need to figure out something. I
Mm-hmm.
personally believe that they will win the NL Central, but with their bullpen giving up back to back ninth inning home runs, no chance that they're going to go far with that.
Yeah, they were looking like last year's Mets a little bit.
That is a good comparison, definitely. Bullpen issues all around.
Oh yeah, it's not getting good anytime soon unless they go on a good streak, a good winning streak. I mean, you just blew two games to the Tigers like that, and you got to give the Tigers credit because obviously who would have thought?
Yeah, the Tigers have nothing to lose whatsoever. And the fact that they were able to go into Great American Ballpark and steal two games in the ninth inning, along with holding the Reds to 2 runs in the final game, that is impressive. That's good pitching.
Yeah, and that's the thing of beauty in your eyes, at least.
Yes, I was very ecstatic that the Tigers were actually able to win 2 games this season. Like I said, I texted you right after the Tigers lost that the Tigers were about to go 0-60, 59 more losses, and then they win the next 2 games.
10-game winning streak.
Hey, hopefully it carries into the game today.
Yeah, I'm gonna go crazy if the Tigers do something like that. I want to see how far they can take this because I mean, savor this. I mean, yeah, you can say savor this while it lasts, but technically they're tied for the lead for the AL Central. I mean,
I hope that
hey,
lasts, honestly. They have nothing to lose this season. I hope they can continue. But if I would not be surprised if the Tigers started to slump off like they did last year. I think they started the season almost like 8-4 or something, 8-2 or something last year. And then obviously we saw that they lost 114 games. So I'm not going to get excited yet because we still have a lot of games to go. But hey, anything can happen in a 60-game season.
yeah, definitely. But with us being in the Chicagoland area, we've been getting an earful about the White Sox hype. You know, oh my gosh, the White Sox are stacked. This is gonna be good. Now, I'm not making any judgments on any team because this is just the first series, but
Yeah.
uh 27 runs to the Twins in 3 games. Ouch.
Yeah, and I was
Um,
on that White Sox hype train. Like when they were getting all these big signings, and they had a pretty decent season last year. It wasn't the best, but it was pretty decent for sure. But
Yeah,
I
for
I definitely hopped on the hype train, and I was very excited to see the White Sox this year, and I still am. They were honestly my pick to win the AL Central, which maybe to some people very shocking, but if you've seen their team and their rotation, they are definitely very good. But like you said, they gave up a lot of runs, especially in the final game of the series, 14-2. That's
real.
bad.
Yeah, that's not gonna cut it.
Definitely not.
Allowing 9 runs per game in a series, that's not gonna help you that much. Now I don't care how proficient your offense is supposed to be. Allowing 9 runs a game, you're basically asking your offense to get you double digit runs
Yeah.
every night.
Yeah, obviously that's not going to happen. We've seen
Uh-uh.
obviously you have to have good offense and defense to be a successful team in the MLB, and we've seen it in the past few years. And if the White Sox, like I said, if they want to be successful, they definitely have to figure out the pitching issue quick.
Oh, definitely. Because I've heard hype about Giolito too. Lucas Giolito,
Yeah, yeah, he was
and
great last year.
oh yeah, but they got to figure out something beyond just him because this is not gonna cut it. It's
Yeah,
not gonna cut it.
it is definitely it won't.
Yeah, although the other Chicago team, looked promising against the Brewers. The Cubs, took a series from the Brewers, and the game on Fox actually went above and beyond and had like virtual fans in the stands.
Yeah, I heard about that. Honestly, I didn't have a chance to watch it, but I did hear about virtual fans.
Yeah, I saw it during a Christian Yelich home run, and I was like, "What the? Oh my goodness!"
Yeah, and that's not the first time I have heard about fans. I heard about it in I think Europe for soccer. They have virtual fans there as well. And honestly, I think that's kind of weird. I just think it looks a little pixelated almost. But
Video gamers.
I do like the cardboard cutouts though. I think that's kind of funny.
Yeah, that was very creative. If they would have did that throughout the entire stadium, the entire ballpark, that would have been crazy dedication. But
Yeah.
I understand the first few rows and stuff like that. But yeah, man. For now, baseball is back.
Yes, thank God. I didn't think the time was going to come, but now we're here.
Yeah, I didn't think so either. Especially after all the long lost, forgotten, failed negotiations and stuff like that. I was very discouraged.
Yes.
But hey, back for now. And while we were waiting on the MLB to come up with something, we saw, an appetizer for the NBA season. It's called the TBT.
Yes, the basketball tournament. It was actually very competitive. It was my first time watching, and I'm sure a lot of other fans' first time watching due to the fact that there was absolutely no sports throughout the summer. So this was definitely a good start.
Mm-hmm. And it was a very very good tournament to watch. There were 20. As a matter of fact, I did a little research myself.
Mm.
There were 23 games played. 7 of them were decided by 5 points or less. 17 of them were decided by 10 points or less.
Wow,
Out of 23 games.
that is the definition of intense and close games for sure.
Yeah, it's very close. And and there's one team, that I wanted to point out because Sideline Cancer's been involved in a couple of those games, a
Yeah,
couple of those close games.
they definitely have, and honestly, I think they were my favorite team to watch. They were the 22nd seed coming in, and they were able to fight. They were able to get to the championship game. Unfortunately, they lost to the Golden Eagles, which was Marquette's alumni team, a very good
Hmm.
team for sure. But Sideline Cancer being a 22 seed and able to get to the championship game is very, very impressive.
Yeah, and beat Overseas Elite, who once won
Yes.
4 straight championships.
And who only had one loss coming into the tournament in their entire career of playing in the basketball tournament.
Impressive.
And very
Very.
impressive. And their team was headlined by an NBA great in my opinion. Actually, former Piston legend Joe Johnson. No, I'm kidding. He got cut before the season even started. But Joe Johnson, obviously a big name in the or former big name in the NBA. Very good player. And I thought it was a very close game. He's fun to watch still at age, I think 39
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah, these older NBA players, approaching their 40s, they're not, showing signs of, giving up just yet. We seen it with, Jamal Crawford trying to get
Yep.
back, with the Nets.
Yep.
I mean, hey, in this age especially, age really does not seem to matter. You look at LeBron and Brady, Peyton when he was still playing.
Yeah.
These players seem to not really age until 40s.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean it's very good to see. But I mean, watching sideline cancer, I mean, it was a marvelous run. But seeing Marcus King,
Fantastic player.
that dude was putting on a show. I, I mean, obviously, tournament where a lot of the players, the majority of the players, you probably never heard of. But obviously,
Yeah.
when you get introduced to somebody new that is a real baller, a stud, that it's always great to see.
Yeah, definitely. And Marcus Keene, I'm going to say it. He was my personal MVP of the
Mm,
basketball tournament. He averaged 20 points per game. Very impressive. Every single game he was putting on a show. He really reminded me of Miles Powell of Seton Hall the past few years.
mm.
He was a spot up shooter. He'd pull up from half court. He was the offense of sideline cancer, the entire offense. He'd always try and take the last shot, the most important shot of the game. And unfortunately, his run did end in the championship game. He only scored 6 points, which obviously is down
Mm-hmm.
from his average 20. But he was still so much fun to watch. Every single game he was putting on a show.
Yeah, definitely. And that's in 20 points per game. People might look at that like, oh, that's not that good. But keep in mind, this is not the NBA where the average score is like 115 points or 125. We're talking about games that were like in the 80s and 85s and 90s. 20 points per game is really good, you know?
Yeah, and I think another reason for it is I think my favorite part of the entire basketball tournament was the Elam ending.
Oh yeah,
I That was so much fun because we saw the Elam ending come into play in the NBA All-Star game this season.
mm-hmm,
It was it just makes the game more intense. But for the listeners who don't know what the Elam ending is, basically they don't play the entire fourth quarter. They stop at the 4-minute timeout or whistle,
mm-hmm.
and then after when they come back from the break, they add 8 points to the leading team's score, and the first team to get that to that projected score wins. So let's say Sideline Cancer had 70 points at the 4-minute whistle of the fourth quarter. Then the first team to get to that 78 points would win. And I just think that brings so much more excitement to especially in a close game
Mm-hmm.
where the other team's only down 3 or 4. So, and they still have a chance to get to that, however, projected score 8+ off the team's
Yeah,
leading
definitely.
team score.
Definitely, man. And keep in mind, last time I checked, it was tied going into the Elam ending of the championship game.
Yeah,
That was
it
intense.
was. It was very intense. Yeah.
I mean, you almost wanted to punch your TV screen for the commercial breaks because it was just so good. It was just so good.
Yeah, it was. And unfortunately, it wasn't as good as we thought because the Golden Eagles did end up winning 78-73. But
Hmm.
just seeing that it was a tie game at the start of that Elam ending brought so much excitement.
Yeah, and the Golden Eagles are a very deserving champion. They've had
Yeah.
I've been watching the TBT for a couple of years, and they've had some really pretty heartbreaking losses. It's like they've kind of started from the bottom, and they kept progressing. They kept going to the next round, and then stopping at that round. And it's like they've been advancing farther and farther into deeper into the bracket, and they've only had their hearts broken each and every time. But then they finally broke through. Either team that would have won, and this is what I love about sports: when you don't really have a team to root for, you just want to see a good game.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
It is, and we saw a lot of those good games in the basketball tournament.
Mm-hmm. Very good games. Like I said, 7 games decided by 5 points or less, 17 games decided by 10 points or less. Really, really good tournament. Very, very great appetizer for, the basketball season. Of course, the WNBA started, this weekend, but
Yeah,
with the NBA on the, horizon, that was a very, very good appetizer for us basketball fans.
sure was.
Very amazing. But yeah, we can't forget about hockey because hockey is a pretty crazy sport too.
Yeah, yeah, it sure is.
Yeah, but it's also very promising because the NHL announced that there were no positive tests within, I think it was the players.
Yeah, 0 positive COVID-19 tests out of 4,256.
That's what you like to hear.
Yeah, I think the bubble does help for sure.
Yeah, it definitely does help. I know Bettman is like, take that, Manfred, but it's like, I mean, oh my gosh, 0 positive tests out of about 4,000. Oh, see, I know we're just looking at Canada like, oh man, how much we would want to be you.
Exactly.
They're really doing what they can to flatten this curve. While we, I don't know. The
Yeah, Miami needs to take a look at what Canada's doing.
entire state of Florida needs to look at what the whole country of Canada is doing because they
Yeah.
need it. They would need it, man. I, I mean, and a lot of things are going on in Florida too. That's where the WNBA and the NBA are holding their, seasons.
Yeah.
That's going to be very interesting to see how both of those basketball leagues, handle their, you know, coronavirus cases if in the event that they do get one, which is pretty much inevitable at this point.
Hmm.
So yeah, but man, NHL, hey, we for now we really don't have any worries heading into this preseason.
Yeah, I'm gonna consider it as preseason. I really don't know what it is. It's probably just I think a few training games, obviously, for the teams to get back on the ice.
Mm-hmm.
But for now, we'll consider it the preseason.
Yeah, but hey, the real season, aka the playoffs, they're not that far off away. It starts Saturday. You know,
Yeah.
we're this is gonna complete. Well, I won't say complete because we're still gonna wait on the NFL afterwards. But this is gonna complete, the normal cycle of, you know sports outside the NFL. We'll get
Yeah.
NBA back, we'll get MLB back, and we're gonna get NHL back too.
Yeah, we are. And obviously, the preseason starts today.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I'm excited. And like I said last week, I'm just hoping that Edmonton and Calgary can meet in the playoffs.
I'm praying
That's
on
what
it.
I'm looking forward to.
Fingers crossed. I need to see that. I need it.
I
Please.
think the entire NHL wants to see it. That was such a good rivalry for the regular season, and I think it would bring a lot of excitement back to the sport of hockey, especially with no fans, and that's going to take a toll for sure.
Mm-hmm. And hey, I mean, if they can keep this 0 positive test thing up, I don't see why they wouldn't have the confidence to go throw hands and drop the gloves. That's
I
gonna
want
be
to see
awesome.
it. I'm here for it. I want to see it.
Yes. Come on. If there's 2 teams I want to tank right now, it's Chicago and it's Winnipeg. Those are the 2 teams I want
Yeah.
to tank.
Yes. Please. Please. I wouldn't. Yeah. Actually, I would not want to see Chicago get the first pick, though.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
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 Uh, the yeah, the number one pick. Yeah, that's that unfortunately that leads me right into my next thoughts. Is there going to be intentional disqualification in the qualifying round via tanking?
You know what? I wouldn't be mad at it, honestly. I wouldn't be mad at it. I'd understand. Um, just don't let Chicago get the first pick, please. I pray on it. And
Oh man.
and Tampa Bay or Tampa Bay, please no.
Chicago and Tampa Bay. Those are your teams that you absolutely
If
don't want.
either of them get the first pick, I will quit watching the sport of hockey.
Oh, really?
Probably not, but
I
I
mean, I
would be
know.
very upset.
Yeah, I know. It's obviously, it, it's just I know it has to be so salty. The salt level has to just be so extraordinarily high, especially if you support the Red Wings even the slightest bit. If you know the slightest bit about the Red Wings, you know they 100% deserve that number one pick.
Yep. You know what? I'm going to be rooting for your Carolina Hurricanes to
Are you
tank
serious?
and get that first pick.
Are you
Go for it.
serious?
I am hoping if Carolina does lose or tank in the first qualifying round, I hope they get the first pick. If they don't, if they continue on, I hope they make a run for it and win the Stanley Cup. So go Hurricanes for now.
I think I heard a
For now.
report because I was catching up on the draft picks and trades and stuff like that. I think
Mhm.
that I thought a long time ago I saw that the Hurricanes owed the Rangers a first rounder.
Hmm.
I'm gonna have to look into that. I'm gonna have to look into that again and bring it up next
Mhm.
week. But if my memory serves me right, we owe the Rangers a first rounder. So even if we lose, if we win or lose, the Rangers are gonna get a chance either way. If my memory serves me
Hmm.
right.
If that's the case, then try and win the Stanley Cup then.
Yeah, definitely because we tank, we win nothing, no cup,
Hey,
no pick, no.
yeah, you had a good run last year. Hopefully, you can have another one this year.
Yeah, very good run. I just hope I don't run into the buzzsaw known as the Boston Bruins.
Yeah, I and them. They better not get the first pick either. If they do,
Oh
I
no no
think
no
the
no
entire they can't.
no. There's no possibility because they're
Okay.
in the top
Okay. Good.
four. The top
Good.
four
Good.
seeds in each conference have no chance for getting the pick. It's only the teams in the qualifying round.
Okay.
Thank
Okay. I
goodness.
was gonna say because I think the entire NHL probably would have rioted if they got the first pick. Because again, like we said last week, no one likes Bruins.
Yeah. Hey, neither the Bruins nor the Lightning have a chance at that pick because they're both in the top four in their respective conferences. So yay for you.
Yeah. Okay. So that is good. So everything that I said before doesn't matter. I just hope then that they do not win the Stanley Cup.
Although you still have the Blackhawks to root against, so it doesn't
Yeah.
completely cancel
So
out. But
three teams that I'm praying do not win the cup, and the Blackhawks do not get the first pick.
yeah, they're down. It's down to one. But hey, anything can happen.
That is very true.
Yeah,
And we saw
anything
it
can happen.
with the lottery.
Yeah. I don't know if I'll get over that in the next decade, but we'll see. But yeah, it's gonna be an interesting, week because this is it is a 5 game series, so it's gonna run until next like the week after next. Um, the last games are supposed to be August 9th, which is um let's see, today's is still July, so the Sunday after next, the
Okay.
9th, then we can really start talking about the original 16 team Stanley Cup playoffs and stuff
Hmm.
like that. So yeah, I mean, a lot of reasons to be excited. But do you have? I know this is going to be so tough, but do you have a championship pick right now?
Oh, that is a good question. I don't think I have a championship pick at the moment. I think I'll be able to give my guess after maybe actually next episode.
Yeah,
Next
'cause, I mean,
episode, I will be able to give my Stanley Cup prediction.
yeah, because I mean, we got to see the teams in action. We don't know. I mean, we obviously don't know how the long break is going to treat some teams. Maybe, I mean, in 1 second you might see the Blackhawks on a run. Next second you might see the Bruins get swept by some lower tier team or something. You
Hmm.
just don't know.
Yeah, we saw the Blues come from the worst team in the league last year to the
Hmm.
best. So
Yeah.
if there was a full summer long break, who knows who will come out on top this year?
Oh, oh yeah. That just makes the Stanley Cup playoffs that much more unpredictable.
Yeah, for
Like
sure.
it couldn't get more unpredictable enough. especially with things that have been going on throughout the years. Crazy. It's crazy. It really is crazy when you think about it, because I mean the fans obviously they're probably arguably the craziest amongst the four major sports.
Yeah, I'd probably say so. You see Wings fans throwing octopi onto the ice, and
Hmm.
then you see fans in Nashville smashing cars, doing some crazy stuff. Yeah, hockey fans are definitely one of a kind.
Most definitely. But you want to know what else is one of a kind?
What?
Patrick Mahomes' contract.
That is, yes, one of a kind and one of a generation for sure.
Definitely. That's a hefty. That's a hefty. That's a hefty contract that'll put the company to shame. I mean,
Yeah.
oh my goodness.
When I saw the first report, I was like, okay, 400, not bad. And then I saw the second report, $500 million. I didn't say a million, I said a billion. That is, I no words. That's crazy. That's insane. I never thought I would ever see a professional sports player playing a game get paid $500 million.
I mean, it's fitting. It's fitting because Mahomes has taken the league by storm and stuff like that. But
He sure
dang,
has.
man.
Yeah, he has definitely been a great player. But the
Hmm.
question is, do you think he's worth $500 million? One person?
You know what? I don't blame the Chiefs for pulling the trigger. I say yes. I think he is um
Okay.
worth 500 million. Especially considering what he has been doing compared to the other quarterbacks in his draft class.
Sorry, Bears fans.
Uh, yeah, yeah. You know, Bears fans, that front office in Chicago is not going to hear the end of it if Trubisky is out of this city next season. They will never hear the end of it. They will
From you especially.
roar. Put me in the front office. Oh, terrible, man. We could have had we could have had at least Watson at the very least. Oh, oh my gosh, man.
Oh, man.
We could have had Watson. We could have had a Super Bowl MVP, an NFL MVP, a Super Bowl champion. We could have had it all. We could have had our franchise quarterback locked down for the next decade. The next decade, in which that's the first football contract I've seen that was 10 years long. That was that long. I've
Yeah.
seen 7 years. I've seen 5 years. 10? Whoa.
I was very surprised. I thought that was a baseball contract for sure. I've never seen
Yeah.
anything like that in football.
You would have thought that was Mookie or Manny Machado or Bryce. But
Yeah.
no, that's Pat.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Man, I know that starfish is looking at Patrick like, yes, sir, Mr. Mahomes. Somewhere in Bikini Bottom, he is just proud. Just proud. But yeah, that contract is crazy. But what I mean, what does that mean for other quarterbacks in the league? And you know, you gotta wonder if Deshaun Watson and Lamar Jackson are next in line.
Yeah, for me, I think they are both good enough. The only question is, can they do something with their great abilities? Because we've seen them have outstanding seasons, but when it comes to the playoffs, it seems like they both kind of choke. So once they prove
Yeah.
themselves to the league that they can win those important games, then I think we can start having the discussion of the big contracts.
Yeah, especially with not even just playoff games. They've had some pretty bad losses at home in the playoffs.
Yeah, definitely.
Like the Colts, I didn't expect the Colts to come into Houston and absolutely just dominate the Texans like they did 2 seasons ago, and just send Deshaun Watson home like that. I was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, and that loss for Baltimore against the Titans, another very unexpected, honestly. Actually, not after we saw what happened to the rest of the teams that the Titans faced, but at the
Hmm.
time, very unexpected,
Yeah, and
especially for the reigning MVP or the soon to come MVP
yeah,
of Lamar
definitely.
Jackson.
Yeah, and then the season before that, when he made the playoffs, and not even just made the playoffs, took the Ravens, just took the Ravens by storm, snatched the division from the Steelers, knocked the Steelers out of the playoffs, which is a Ravens fan's dream, might I add.
Yeah.
He did all that, won them the division on the last day of the regular season, literally snatched the football souls out of the Pittsburgh Steelers and their fans, sent them home, and here you are, wild card weekend, playoff game at home in Baltimore against the Chargers, Ray Lewis in the house. The Ravens fans couldn't have asked for anything better that season because it wasn't like they were a very, very good team before they had to bench Joe Flacco.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, Lamar Jackson has had some very good wins, but not in the
Mm-hmm.
playoffs.
Just not in the playoffs. And that's something that, both Watson and Jackson will have to get better on as they, you know, you know, mature in their quarterbacking careers. Now, granted, it's not all their fault. It's not
Yeah.
Deshaun Watson's fault that his defense just absolutely failed him in Kansas City.
Yeah.
Not his fault.
It isn't definitely not his fault.
Jackson, on the other hand, I mean, his stats were very deceiving in that Titans game. Very, very deceiving. He had a lot of yards, a lot of total yards. But, obviously the majority of those came late when the Titans were already up, 28-6 in the fourth quarter?
Something like that, yes.
Yeah, so it basically, it was just a classic case of deceptive stat padding.
Definitely. And like you said, it did look deceiving because throughout the a chunk of the game, he did not look good at all. He did not look like the soon to come MVP at all. He looked he was struggling for sure.
Yeah, definitely. But I gotta, wonder what this means for, other quarterbacks. And when I say other quarterbacks this time, I mean like quarterbacks that aren't necessarily as good as Watson and Mahomes, but they could still be franchise quarterbacks for franchises, for their respective franchises, like Dak Prescott. You
Yeah.
know, quarterbacks like him. Maybe Josh Allen if the Bills are, crazy enough to full blown commit to him right now. Young quarterbacks that
Yeah.
still under rookie contracts and are looking for a deal like that. Obviously, they're not going to get no $500 million. I would not give Dak Prescott no $500 million.
No, no.
No.
And it's crazy that he expects more than what the Cowboys want to give him. I don't understand. He has done absolutely nothing for the Cowboys, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
yeah. I don't blame you. Granted, it's not all his fault either, but I mean, the Cowboys under Dak Prescott, they just don't do well against teams that are like winning teams, like teams over 500. Every time I watch the Cowboys play a team that's over 500, I sit there and think to myself, 9 times out of 10, they're going to lose this game. They're going to lose this game, especially if it's on the road.
Yeah, and the only somewhat decent win they've had was against a beaten up Seahawks team in the playoffs. That's it.
Yeah, and that was at home.
Yeah, it was at home.
Next thing you know, you go to LA, then you get lassoed back to Dallas. That's Cowboys have not been to the NFC Championship game since '95, and it's just you just look at what the Cowboys have done under Dak Prescott, especially after that 2016-2017 season where they were the number 1 seed, had the Green Bay Packers on the ropes. Not necessarily on the ropes, but had a chance to take him to overtime. But Aaron Rodgers had that crazy pass to, I think it was Jared Cook that had that crazy catch to set Mason Crosby up for the game winner.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the only chance where they could have had a very impressive win. I'm not taking all the credit away from the Cowboys when they beat the Seahawks, but like I said earlier, the Seahawks were beaten up and the Cowboys were at home. So if they would have lost that game, it would have been embarrassing for them.
Yeah, especially with Sebastian Janikowski being on that injury list. The kicker got hurt. If you would have lost to a team that got their kicker taken away from them, that would have been bad.
It would have, for sure.
Yeah, now granted, it's not too bad to lose to Russell Wilson, but this is not just Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
So that really would have been bad. But Obviously, I think quarterbacks in the NFL are going to start being a bit more demanding if they are really. It depends on their ego and their personality. I have no idea
Yeah.
what's going on in Dallas because there's not that much communication, so I can't really make that much judgment.
Mm-hmm.
They really haven't had that many talks, and Prescott once again, he's in a kind of contract year type of position.
Yeah. And again, he needs to actually prove himself.
Yeah,
Unlike we mentioned earlier, a Patrick Mahomes who has already won an MVP and has become a Super Bowl champion.
yeah. In 3 years in the league, two as a starter.
Yes.
And you got to give Andy Reid credit. The decision to move on from Alex Smith and shift to Patrick Mahomes. What a gutsy decision. People don't look back at that decision. They just look at this situation like Mahomes just happened out the blue.
Yeah. I mean,
No.
yeah, obviously he saw something in Mahomes before any of us did because honestly Patrick Mahomes wasn't a big name going into the draft. Like no one thought to think, "Oh, Patrick Mahomes, yes, he's going to be the first pick." No, he's obviously going to be in the middle somewhere. Obviously he went to the Chiefs. And so seeing him or deciding to move on from Alex Smith and go with Patrick Mahomes, he must have saw something and obviously it worked out.
It worked out very well. And man, what a win. What a win for the Chiefs, man. The
Yeah.
franchise has gone through so many, heartbreaks, especially in the playoffs. And they never really could get over the hump. I mean, the whole franchise is defined by the hump. Andy Reid couldn't get over the hump as a coach. Lost the Super Bowl to the Patriots, and he's come close so many times. He's had so many good teams, and he just never could get over the hump. Especially with
Yep.
the Eagles in the early
Yeah.
2000s when they had all those
Yeah.
NFC Championship appearances.
Yeah. And
So
I
yeah,
was happy for him when he won that championship. I really was.
yeah, I was too. Even though I lost a bet to like 3,000 kids, um, which that's still an instant classic moment for me. Fun fact about that bet, Drew. I
Mm.
actually cut my facial hair off before the Super Bowl even started.
Wow. So
So
what would have happened if the 49ers would have won? What would have happened then?
it still would have been babyface Jotham, but I just wouldn't have gotten that much publicity about it. See, what I was planning, what my plan was to just give the school something to talk about. I
Mhm.
really wanted, I just wanted to have some fun, man. I really wanted to have fun with it. I had already decided I was gonna, shave. I already decided I was gonna do that. So I just wanted to do that just for the heck of it. I wanted to see what would happen, and I was like, hey, if the 49ers win, they're gonna look at me like a genius, but I'm still gonna be babyface. But if the Chiefs win, yeah, I'll be babyface, and I'm gonna get absolutely torched. But hey, I'm gonna have fun with it.
Yeah,
And
I get
boy,
that.
boy, oh boy, I got absolutely rocked right after the Super Bowl was over.
Yeah,
I got hit. I
immediately.
got hit up. Yep, immediately hit up. Hey, is Babyface Johnson coming to HF? I was like, yes, yes. And dude, it didn't take long that day to you know have the Babyface Jotham thing come into effect. The bus stop, the bus stop. I couldn't get past the bus stop without people talking about it.
That is funny.
That's how crazy this whole thing was. Now, granted, a lot of people at the school know me, but
Mhm.
man, I was getting. Oh my gosh, never doing
Yeah.
that again.
Hey,
Yeah,
I do not blame you. I remember that, and everyone that was bad for you. It was fun though,
yeah, it was
but
fun.
you definitely got torched.
Yeah, and still to this day, I have never predicted a Super Bowl correctly, ever.
You got it this year. Don't worry, for sure.
Yeah, the Baltimore Ravens are going to defeat the Seattle Seahawks.
Oh, you heard it here first. And you think on that note, I think that should be it. The final thing should be the prediction.
Yeah. Because, hey, the prediction magic is back after all.
Hey, everyone, you heard it here first. Baltimore, Seattle.
Yeah. Hey, that reminds me. Well, I know this is a little bit off, but didn't you give us a trivia question last episode?
I think I did. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Was it something along the lines of what was Michael Jordan's original school that he wanted to attend?
Actually, I think that was it. I think you're right. I think you are.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
right.
So what school did Michael Jordan originally want to attend? It was a West Coast school, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. And if you picked Stanford, you're wrong. If you picked USC, you're wrong.
Oregon
Right?
State? I'm
Not
playing.
Oregon State.
I'm playing.
But if you picked UCLA, you got it correct. Congratulations for anyone who guessed
hmm.
UCLA on last week's trivia question.
Hmm. UCLA. Of course, it would be a Pac-10 school. Well, Pac-10. It was Pac-10 back then. Now it's Pac-12.
Yeah.
But you guys get the point.
Yeah.
Wow, that was a really fun trivia question, especially in the aftermath of that Last Dance documentary. Very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very
Definitely.
interesting. But I'm gonna even the whole trivia thing up right here. I have a trivia question for you. So my question for you guys is who was the last NBA player on the cover of NBA 2K to average 30 points in their next season?
That's a good question. That's so. Do they have to pick the year or just the player?
Just a player.
Okay.
Just a player because it is focused on a player's stats.
Okay.
I mean, and it has to be player specific because there have been 2K covers where there are multiple players on it, like
All right.
2K13 with Derrick
Yeah.
Rose,
Yeah.
Kevin Durant, Blake Griffin. So yeah, you do have to specify the player.
Okay. That should be a very interesting topic for the end of next week's show.
Yeah, and if the player has appeared on multiple NBA 2K covers, like Allen Iverson did for like 5 or 6 straight years in
Mm.
2K origination, or Kobe Bryant a few times, yeah, then you would have to specify which 2K because obviously that was multiple seasons. But
All
yeah,
right.
who was the last NBA player on the cover of NBA 2K to average 30 points in their next season after gracing that cover? Yeah, that should be really interesting to find out.
Okay.
Yeah, but well, Drew, I mean, we've covered a lot today, man.
Yeah, we sure did. Sports fans should be excited for the NHL to come back, and yeah, it's a very exciting week of sports we had for
Yeah,
sure.
definitely. I mean, lots to look forward to. We're gonna have a lot of things. We're gonna have a lot of sports on deck. This is the last episode of July, heading into August. August is gonna be a very interesting month, not just for sports, but just for the world in general.
Yeah, school's starting up, everything. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really gonna be interesting. I mean, it's obviously very, very unprecedented time, but it should it I sense excitement in this because I really want to see how this plays out. Should be one for the
Yeah,
books.
yeah. Me too. Me too.
It should be one for the books. But same time next week.
Yes, sir.
Cool.
All right. So, again, if you guys are listening on Apple Podcasts, be sure to give a 5-star rating, subscribe, do all that. If you are listening on Spotify, continue listening there. We're here every week. Be sure to follow us on our social medias, though. Twitter is at Top of Standings. All right. Facebook is Top of the Standings, and Instagram Top of the Standings. So be sure to follow us there. Be sure to again give us 5-star rating on wherever you're listening. And yeah, thank you guys for listening. We'll see you guys next week. Goodbye. Goodbye. Goodbye.